We got an Arizona legend on the show today. That's all that really needs to be said. Happy Monday, folks. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Don't go anywhere. Leave a like.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall, and I am, of course, joined always by my friend, Kevin Thomas. We are here in downtown Phoenix at PHNX HQ2, and we are ready to talk about Arizona athletics all show long. But, Kevin, we do, of course, have an Arizona legend, as you already said in the cold open off the top. We are joined by Ortiz Jenkins, former Arizona quarterback from 97 to 2000, as well as former Arizona basketball player, something I'm not sure a ton of people are super aware of, but we're super grateful to be joined by you here, Ortiz, and hope that your Monday's going well.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, everything is going smooth here in Long Beach. Glad to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
You of course are in charge of the One Body Youth Foundation. We were talking about a little bit off air, as well as the founder of One Body Strength and Conditioning. But with the Youth Foundation, you're involved with the recruitment process of a lot of these players. I guess that's a great place to start off. Just kind of what are you doing with the One Body Youth Foundation, and what was your role connecting back to the University of Arizona football program with Keytrin Harris?
Well, first and foremost, our nonprofit is we put this together to help create youth equality across the board when it comes to our underprivileged community athletes, giving them the same opportunities that others that may have a little bit more privilege to do so. And with that, we raise money, and then we take the kids through on what we call unofficial visits, elite camps in the month of June. But also we provide them with our we have programs that we allow them with financial literacy. That's the course we just did. If you looked at our IG, we had a financial literacy course, banking 101, trying to give kids a little bit of a jump start, and the parents understanding on a new business the way college football is now. We want to be able to give these guys the right opportunities. So with the elite camps, with the free strength and conditioning programs throughout the year, and also with the financial literacy courses, trying to set up an infrastructural piece so that way these kids can get ahead of the game. So far as Keytrin, I was fortunate enough to be part of coaching as a consultant at his high school in California, Narbonne, and that's how I got connected with him, with another kid that I represent, Jaden O'Neal, and his mom had seen some of the things that we were doing with O'Neal, and asked me to kind of jump in and help guide them through this process. And it's been awesome. Luckily, I was able to connect back with all the Arizona guys. Brent Brennan was one of my coaches when I played at Arizona. I played with his brother, Brad Brennan. Bobby Wade, the receiver coach, was one of my receivers, played with him. I actually hosted Bobby on his visit. I played with Joe Salavea. Joe Salavea is a defensive line coach, and that's how we connected the dots with Keytrin, and also a kid named Manoa Fabusa as well, another kid from the California area. So we were able to kind of bridge the gap, and because I'm in this space of representing kids and helping these kids do it the right way, we connected the dots on some of the kids that we got. Get it working.
I want to get back to talking kind of about bringing back that 90s Arizona family back to Arizona football here, but I do just want to say that as we're on the topic here, it's really I feel like the business inquiry stuff is really neat, considering, just the Wild West kind of era we are in college athletics right now. It's good to have somebody, role models that can help guide you through that process. Did you feel that, your college football career kind of puts you in a position here from an authority standpoint of knowing kind of how the avenues of how to maneuver through this new era of college football?
Yeah, I wouldn't say authority, but what it does, it gives me the experience to understand the recruiting process, but also, I had to do a lot of learning, a lot of digging because the dynamic has changed, and because there is so much business associated with it, you have to do your homework and understand the lay of the land and how things work. Number one. Number two, you want to make sure that any of the kids that I represent, that I work with, is we're going to set up an infrastructural piece so that they understand exactly how this works. Meaning that's in creating the entity so that way we have an LLC, a S corp, or C corp. They need to understand the difference of that. Their parents need to understand the difference. If you're going to work with me, you're going to sit down in a meeting with the CPA. Your mama going to sit down in the meeting, and your daddy, and we all going to sit there and we're going to go through this process. Once you create that, we need to make sure we have somebody that understands the tax part of it. You're going to be making lots of money. You have to pay taxes. So we explain that in my infrastructural piece. And then you have to have legal as well to help look over the contracts. Any contract that you sign, you should at least know what you're signing. So that's a basic infrastructural piece that a lot of agencies or agents are not doing. Any of the kids that I represent, we're going to make sure 1,000% that they understand that process. And I think that's going to help separate us in this beginning process of getting the recruits and getting kids to come on board, because we're going to do it the right way and understanding what the right way is. Transparency, being 100% honest. And a lot of times 100% honest is not what parents or kids want to hear. But in my program, what we're going to end up doing, it has to be done that way.
And I wanted to ask you, you kind of mentioned about the ties that you have between the current staff, and also how it's, you're utilizing those ties to help better the lives of the kids that you represent and overlook and oversee. Damon and I have, identified that the way this staff is moving is back towards like having connections to Arizona is like almost like a prerequisite to being on this staff now. Having some sort of ties to either a player on one of the year's teams or a family member on one of the teams or staffs. Do you feel that as an alum? Does it feel like this staff is more of a, for lack of a better phrase, like quote unquote Arizona staff full of Arizona guys? And does that do something for you as someone who's played for the program, represented the program, and continues to rep the program?
Yeah, you definitely feel that shift, but you want to have qualified guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys that went to school at Arizona. There's a lot of guys that are great players. A lot of guys that have a really good tie to the community in Tucson and in Arizona in itself. But yes, it does feel like that. But I think the biggest thing that Brent has done is brought qualified guys that are Wildcats as well, and integrated them with other good coaches to try to build a solid foundation. And that's where, as from an alumni standpoint, yes, it's easy to make calls. And I got a guy on the offense, I got a guy on defense, I got a head coach that I really, really know. The AD, understanding that, she went to Arizona the same era time that I was at Arizona. So it is a really, really good feeling of that. It makes you feel a lot more comfortable when you're coming back to a place where you know a lot of familiar faces. But like I've said, across any time I've ever talked to anybody, that's all good. You got to win football games. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You can have all the guys that played here before, and then all the feel good stories and all that. But I think this year we're going to put it together. We're going to win some games and really solidify, what we need to do. So you got to win, even though you are bringing everybody back and it feels good. But at the end of the day, we got to go out there and produce.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think that you kind of alluded to it there, but in 2024, things didn't go the way that Arizona football wanted it to go. High expectations, and it just didn't pan out the way that, a lot of people foresaw it going. But, you were kind of a part of a similar team in 1999 there, coming off the back of that 1998 season with a lot of expectations and, that week 1 game against Penn State that everybody remembers. What would your advice be as someone that was on a team that, had big expectations and didn't get the job done, didn't live up to those expectations? How does this 2025 team kind of crawl out of that hole and play better football this next season?
Well, I think, you got to really peel back the layers if you're going to dive in it like that. You got to understand a lot of injuries, coming off of coaching changes, transfers, guys leaving. So there's a lot of different variables and pieces that could alluded to us having a letdown season. The beautiful thing about it is that that's behind us. And at the end of the day, now we're talking about a brand new season. Everybody's 0-0. So are we keeping the main thing the main thing? Are we getting bigger, faster, stronger? Are we bringing the guys together? Is it a unit? Is it a one heartbeat type situation within the locker room, within the players? I really believe it is. I've been on campus. I was at spring. Noah's got the guys on offense ready to I believe, to gel. I think he's going to have another great season again. Sometimes you have some bumps in the road. Nobody has a career where it's all roses through the whole process. So I think this will be the bounce back year. I think our schedule, in the earliest part of it suits us well to be able to have some challenges, but also be able to put together some nice wins if we keep the main thing the main thing. And so, my expectations is that this will be a turnaround season. I think we have the guys, we have we have the personnel to be able to do what we need to do. Sep is in there now, and he's going to air it out, and we're going to get a chance to really, to show our skill set this year coming soon. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and I think, I'm glad you brought up Noah Fifita. I'm wearing the shirt today. We talk about Seth Diggy all the time. I don't think there are two bigger Seth Diggy guys in the world outside of his family than me and Damon. But, I can you tell us from the quarterback's perspective, right, coming off of a year where you were disappointing even by your own standards if you're Noah Fifita, right, how do you mentally bounce back? And how much does Seth Diggy being there for Noah Fifita, how much does that new life that he's injected into the offense going to facilitate that for Noah Fifita in 2025?
Well, the way you bounce back is understand you can't do anything that's in the rear. I think Noah's a very, very strong-minded young man. So I believe that going to the next play, to the next year, to the next season will be easy for him. You know what I mean? You're talking about a guy that's been an underdog his whole career. You know what I mean? People say he's too short, he can't do this. And then gets in here and proves everybody wrong. And then we have a little bit of a setback just because, personnel reasons, injuries, so on and so forth. And just learning, too. You guys got to understand, it's a learning curve when the offense has changed and you got new personnel. So I honestly think this is going to be great for him. I think it motivated him to continue to grow his game. And I'm really looking forward to it. And having Sep, again, I'm not in the room with him, but I think the newfound energy, I think you'll feel that watching spring ball, watching the interviews and watching the way that Sep is locking in with the guys in that quarterback room. I believe that it's going to be something special. Now, you gotta win on all phases of football, special teams, defense. There's other key components. But from an offensive standpoint, I think it's going to be great. You get to hit the reset button. That's the beautiful thing about this whole deal. Nobody's going to care about last year if you come out and ball this year. I promise you.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You also played with one of the all-time Arizona wide receivers in Dennis Northcutt, and Noah Fifita played with, one of the all-time leading receivers, or the all-time leading receiver in Arizona football history, and Tedero McMillan. How do you go about, playing without your number one target going into another season? Like, you're so used to throwing this guy the football, and then he's not there all of a sudden. How does that mindset change as a quarterback?
You find another number one. Or you find a number one, a number two, a number three. And I think from the receiver room, from what I've seen in the spring, is we got a really aggressive, fast, exciting receiver room. And I think when you, as a quarterback, when you get everybody involved, using your tight ends, using your running backs, we got Kean Burnett back. So now we have another big target, an athletic target for him, a security blanket for him too, a guy that can utilize one-on-one in the red zone. And then all the speed that we have on the outside, utilizing your whole weaponry is going to be very, very important. I think him spreading the ball around, staying disciplined with his mechanics and fundamentals, staying on time, I think that's going to elevate his game. And he knows a smart dude, man. He knows the game. He studies football. He loves the game. From what I've seen, he's a football junkie. And he'll look at some of the things that he did last year with maybe forcing the ball a little bit too much, or maybe not as disciplined in his mechanics and his drops, and he'll clean that up this year with the offense. I think we'll be in a really, really good situation in spreading the ball out. To answer the question, I didn't mean to veer off. Bottom line is get all your guys involved and then take what they give you and then take your shots when needed.
I think we'd be remiss. We're about 15 minutes into this interview here, Ortiz, and we got to talk about the leap by the lake. 12 seconds left from about the 10-yard line. You take off, and then you're taking off your feet, and you land in the end zone. Can you kind of walk us through that play? What do you remember about the play? What was going through your mind then?
Yeah, it's one of the luckiest plays in the history of football. It was a string of luck, and God willing, it worked out. What I tell people all the time, and I'll be brief, that drive, what people don't understand, started on our own 3-yard line. And we drove the ball down. I think we converted 3 or 4 third down conversions to get us in the position to where we were. I caught a pass on that drive from Keith Smith. We had a two quarterback play that we put in. I threw a pass, a couple passes down to Brandon Nash. Dennis a couple of times on first downs. But again, I think the biggest thing was where a lot of people don't get credit is the offensive line held up the whole time, and made sure that we had protection so we can go out there and make plays. When we got down to the 4 or 5 yard line, I remember I was in a shotgun play. It was called Ray Taxi something. And Ray just means that we had our 2 receiver side to the strong side of the field. And I just dropped back, and when I looked, I looked at Dennis. Dennis was double covered. I took a peek at Tron. It wasn't going to happen. And then when I looked, it just kind of opened up. Now, Coach Tomey told me, rest in peace, hey, man, if you run, you can't get tackled in. If you get tackled in bounds, like, it's over because we don't have no timeouts. And so when I ran and I looked up, there was only one place to go. It was either you can't go low, so all we got to do is go high and see whatever happens. And I remember jumping, and I promise you that I seen a goalpost. I seen black sky and stars because it was at night. And then I flipped around and I seen a goalpost again. And then when I came down, it was more so like, oh, it's over. Like I'm in end zone. And then the guys jumped on me and it was crazy. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my whole life. One of the best plane rides home I've ever had in my whole life. We got home back to Tucson about 2:30 in the morning. And probably one of the best experience going to class in an auditorium hall. And I'm late, and you walk in, everybody's clapping and going crazy in class. It was a good week, man. It was probably one of the best experiences I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, it's definitely, if not the greatest play in Arizona football history, right up there. But I do want to say that pass that you threw to Brandon Nash to get down to the 3 yard line, that was a dart. I was watching that in lead up to this interview, and I feel like everybody's taking that leap by the lake, but you fit that right in that window there on that kind of like deep slant post kind of route that he ran, and that was a beautiful throw. But I did also want to point out that now there's almost an added Washington versus Arizona kind of thing going on here with after Jedd Fisch goes to Washington. Does that play mean anything more to you now in moving forward? Because I'll be honest, I think it means a little bit more to me now that Jedd Fisch has left us for Washington.
I think it gives us a little bit of a spiked on a little bit of the rivalry, if that's what we would call it, and to give it a little bit more juice to it. Unfortunately, we're in 2 different conferences, so it'll be interesting when and if we can link up and play Washington in a non-conference game. That would be kind of cool, or maybe in one of those playoffs if we can manage to get there. But of course, it's going to spike it a little bit. Because when Jet left and then the leap by the lake, so maybe one of these times down the road they'll schedule that Arizona Washington preseason game. Would be something kind of cool to have.
Real quick before we get you out of here, this is my last thing. I did want to just ask you about what kind of player should Arizona fans expect in Keytrin Harris?
So Keytrin is a 6'4", 310-pound edge defensive tackle that is very athletic, rangy, can run. Very humble kid, down to earth, very warm and just a really good all-around person on and off the field. You're going to get a hard worker. You're going to get a guy that's going to come in and try to contribute right away. He's an early enrollee, so Tucson, be looking forward to seeing him in January, getting out there and getting acclimated to the college life, school. And then, like I always say, keeping the main thing the main thing. How can you get better at your craft, loving the process of getting better, and put your
Looks like we had a quick little technical problem here with Ortiz Jenkins. We'll get him back here, hopefully in a half second, and let him finish up that statement. But there we are. Good to go.
I guess that is a not good to go on that question asked and answered, Mr. Fairall. But even though we were able to get through most of that interview with Ortiz, and here he is calling back. We'll try to get him in here shortly. But yeah, no, I mean, this is that play to leap of the leg. I like how he said that he saw goal line or goal post, black sky, and then goal post again. Yep. And here he is. But yeah, we were talking about Keytrin Harris and him getting acclimated to college life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's you will get a guy that is very humble with a chip on his shoulder and really ready to come in and try to make an impact. Big kid, athletic kid, comes from a good home. His mom is super strict. She's all over him, making sure that he's dialed in on what he needs to do. So we're excited about his senior year at Arizona Compass High School in Chandler. I'm looking for a big season from him. And then once we're there, like I said, he's an early enrollee. He will be ready to be part of Arizona football literally right after the bowl game and the bowl win, hopefully.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Ortiz. He, of course, is Ortiz Jenkins, former Arizona quarterback. Feel free to continue to funnel these recruits our way here to your old alma mater. But, of course, if you want to help out with what Ortiz has got going on at the One Body Youth Foundation, head to obyf.org. You guys can donate and help really get in on a good cause, helping some young football players kind of find their footing in the world of collegiate athletics. But thank you so much, Ortiz, for taking the time, and we really enjoyed talking to you, my man.
Appreciate you guys, man. You guys have a great day. Anytime, give me a buzz.
You too. We will have to have him on again, Kevin. Of course, we'll recap that interview, talk a little bit about the Memphis bid to the Big 12.
Denied.
And maybe a look at some of your best Arizona hot takes. We'll do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Yes, we are here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, but we're not just here to talk Arizona sports. Today, we're also here to talk about Empire Today, because we all stand on the shoulders of someone. But Damon, he stands on the floor of Empire, and it's the best. It's the best flooring that you can get in your home and your whatever you got going on, your compound, whatever you got as you're listening to this great here podcast. But it's the sturdiest flooring, it's the prettiest flooring, and it's survived some stuff here in the PHNX office. Like Damon likes to say, we work with animals that throw footballs onto our set as we're podcasting. Just complete savages. But you can be protected with Empire Flooring. And we got you $350 off your first purchase with Empire Today, because some things are just better at home. And why is Empire Today? Guys, they said our ads are too long, and here we are. We're doing handoffs. Mid-Empire read. Empire Today is as good as his Golden Football. I'll tell you what, though, because they're flooring experts. They're not like these
shiny
big box stores. Exactly, the big box stores. You go in. Their job is to get you in, get you out, and get your card information as quickly as possible. Empire Today, they want to make sure you're comfortable and happy with the flooring you're making, because it's a big deal. It's a big dog purchase. So they're virtual home, visualizer installer. You can look at it with all your little, feng shui in your current home, make sure it fits just the way you want it to. So schedule a free home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 off discount. That's right, $350 off discount when you use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/PHNX for full details.
Guys, it's real simple. I want to talk to you about our friends at Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com and use our promo code of BBPHNX. It's going to get you 15% off that first order. If you are an Arizona fan and you don't have a Branded Bills Arizona hat, then you're not a real Arizona fan. I'm ready to take that fan card straight from you, Kevin. I got a Branded Bills hat on right now. They are the absolute most comfortable hats in the game, whether it is a trucker, a snapback, a fitted, a beanie, even a t-shirt. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. And as I mentioned, they have over 40 partnerships with different universities. Of course, we only care about one, but it is beautiful, pristine, the campus collection. Go check it out for yourself. They have special edition ones at the U of A bookstore as well. But everybody knows Brandon Bills taking over the Arizona hat game. Local company out of Mesa, Arizona. They love their Wildcats, and we love them as well. Head to BBPHNX or use our promo code of BBPHNX for 15% off that first order at brandonbills.com and use that promo code of BBPHNX.
That was a fun interview, Damon.
It was a good interview.
Nice way to start off the week on a Monday.
Yeah, it is.
Some Ortiz Jenkins in your life.
Nice little palate cleanser on a Monday for sure. But yeah, definitely a great interview. I love the Keytrin Harris edition in particular. You know, as I said at the end there, like, feel free to just kind of continue to funnel some of these high-level recruits here into our direction. But Keytrin Harris is no slouch, man. He's a top 500 player in the class. You heard him talk about the size there. He said 310 pounds, and then he called him an edge rusher as he started off, which, you know, I think projects maybe a little bit more on the interior defensive line. I called him an edge rusher earlier in our show tweet, but he's a D lineman for sure. Love that NFL prototype type of size, though. 6'3", over 300 pounds. I mean, I think, you know, you get him in the door early and get him in as an early enrollee. I really feel that Keytrin Harris potentially could be the type of player that could maybe even make an impact from day one at Arizona. Hopefully, you know, even just from a rotational standpoint, doesn't need to be a starter as a true freshman. But that wasn't my main takeaway. Oh. My main takeaway was, and as much as I love Keytrin Harris and the addition that he brings, my main takeaway was just kind of, it felt like Ortiz Jenkins had more confidence in this Arizona football program. And maybe it's not just, you know, me and you and even the PHNX Sun Devils guys, as much as they won't tell you that it's the truth, or the people that are within the football program itself. Point being, like, the people that are in and around the football program. But it's also people a little bit more on the peripheral who are working with recruits, who are seeing this and saying, you know, there's a lot of good coaches being put into this building. It's not just a bunch of Arizona guys, as he mentioned. It's Joe Salvea, who is a highly coveted defensive line coach across the country. It's even a guy like Seth Dagey, who he mentions by name, right? And, like, come on, bro. Like, everybody keeps talking about Seth Dagey as much as they possibly can. And I think for good reason. Like, I just feel like the vibes around this football program are, maybe it's not going to be the heights of what we thought we were going to have last year, the expectations necessarily, but it does feel like people are starting to feel like, you know, it's not all doom and gloom, and there's not all hope lost on this 2025 Arizona football season.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think, you know, I don't want to speak for the great Ortiz Jenkins, but I do want to extrapolate what he said and make my own opinion known about what he said, right? And when I asked him about the familial vibe of the staff, like the ties that he had, that you have across the board on this staff, and like you alluded to, he said, yes, the ties are awesome, but what's even better is if you have ties and you're qualified to do your job, right? And what we didn't get to ask him about was Dino Babers, right? And I was thinking to myself, when he was saying that, about Dino Babers, who has ties to the program, but maybe wasn't qualified to be calling an offense in Big 2025 in the Big 12, right? So, like, it is great to have Arizona ties to the program, and it does, I think, make it easier for an alum like Ortiz Jenkins to, like you said, funnel recruits to his alma mater, when he knows that the staff is good, when he knows that he can trust the guys that he's entrusting his recruit with, right? You're not gonna, if you're trying to represent college recruits, especially in the day and age of social media, you can't really have bad reviews, I feel like, because once one recruit tells another recruit, they're gonna tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a recruit. I feel like the secret's gonna get around, and so he's not gonna send Keytrin Harris to Arizona, encourage him to go there if he thinks that it's a dead mission on arrival. If he thinks
it's a dumpster fire,
right?
Yeah.
And I really think it's a huge sign that an alum like Ortiz Jenkins is trying to get talented players to this program because he believes in what's going on here. And I think you and I have been talking about it all offseason about they've played no football games, but I think it'd be disingenuous to say that Brent Brennan has had anything less but stellar offseason since the dumpster fire that was last year's result. Right, I think he's done everything in his power to right the ship. Now, whether that pans out and Arizona wins more games and potentially wins a bowl game next year, who knows? but he's doing he's controlling what he can control, and I think it's spreading to everybody, right? Everybody from you to me to guys like Ortiz Jenkins to guys like Justin Spears to guys like Anthony Totri and Eric Ruby. Like, everybody is starting to realize that, okay, they're not going to maybe win the college national championship, but there are some positive things going on in Tucson as opposed to last year where it felt like you're living off the Alamo Bowl season and you're starving because there's nothing else going on after
Save us,
that.
T-Mac.
Yeah, no, literally.
It does feel a lot better. It feels like the vibe's just overall top to bottom, and it's kind of trickling down, I think, to many people in and around Arizona football, as highlighted right there. Because as you said, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to send, recruits to or not that necessarily he's making that decision. I'm sure
Yes.
Keytrin Harris is completely making that decision. But I guarantee you he's giving his advice. And if he really truly thought Arizona was not the right place for Keytrin Harris to go to, I think he would have said something. But instead, Keytrin Harris is, a part of this kind of influx of really good recruiting weekends that we've seen from Brett Brennan and company as of recently. And yeah, I mean, love to see it, Kevin. Absolutely love to see it. And I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this upcoming football season. I know that.
Isn't that crazy to say?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Or it feels crazy to say, but it's not crazy to say.
I don't know if everybody's exactly with me, but I definitely am just, I don't know. I'm ready for some sports again. I'm ready to be heard again. And I'm ready for Noah Fifita ball on my screen, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that we haven't really talked about a lot. But it's like, you got to appreciate this Noah Fifita guy while he's here on the team that you support. You know what I mean? Because he's not going to be on the Arizona Wildcats football team forever. And so I feel like, yeah, you at some point, at what point do you just start, kind of taking things for what they are and being appreciative that you have fun players to watch on the football team that you love?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Damon, I think I'm with you, though. I think I'm excited for Arizona football in 2025. And I feel like someone should probably institutionalize me for having that opinion, but I am excited. Maybe it is just like a little bit of I miss sports kind of thing. Like, we have the WNBA on All-Star break. MLB just got off their All-Star break. It's literally been
like that.
Nothing going on. So maybe I'm just, really missing Arizona football because there's nothing else going on. But I think the Seth Dagey ball is going to be exciting. Seeing Joe Salavea on the sidelines every Saturday and sometimes Friday is going to be exciting.
I think the ambiguity of next season is really what's exciting me. Is like, yeah, I'm not saying that there's not a world in which things go off the rails. Like, I think that, of course, like, right? Like, we saw it in 2025 or 2024, I should say. It wasn't a good season. But that being said, lots of new faces in this program, lots of new skill position players, which I know I think is a little bit more of a casual type of thing to care about. But because I think real ball knowers, we're watching the tape, we're on the lines.
I've been watching Ty Buchanan.
But it is undeniably fun to have like a bunch of new wide receivers to watch to decide and decipher between, hey, which one of these receivers is a neck and shoulders above the rest? Who's going to separate themselves? I'm excited for this wide receiver group. I think it's so up in the air. I think it's such an unknown. As well as I'm also excited for Ishmael Mahdi. I'm excited for Noah Fifita to prove people wrong again, because that's, what he loves. That's what he lives for. And really, I just think that college football is just so damn fun at the end of the day. I just love the vibe of it, even at the end. Like, even if Arizona is not good next season, the vibe of college football, waking up on the mornings, hearing the bands play, grabbing a coffee and sitting there and watching the big noon kickoff, which is really at 10 a.m. because it's here in Arizona. Like, that just sounds electric. I can't wait for it, man. Fire me up.
I can't wait for it.
Another disappointing season. Inject it into my veins, man. I can't wait.
I'm ready. You got me fired up. I am also ready. I was going to say grab a coffee, maybe grab a little something else to put in the coffee. Who knows?
I have no idea what you're...
I'm saying
like
grab
some Kahlua.
Yeah, I'm saying spike your little coffee. Get your Saturday started off right.
Maybe if you're Kevin, a little bit of THC oil or something.
Dude, that'd be insane.
With our friends at Pure Edibles.
Yeah, never tried that one, but I will have to this upcoming football season if Seth Dagey's offense doesn't really work out. I might be putting some THC oil into my coffee, but that's neither here nor there. Damon, one thing that actually I did want to touch on with the Ortiz Jenkins interview was that play that he talked about. And I think that you kind of that play, Because I don't got to get that more. Do I need to be more specific? Do
No,
people not know what I'm talking about at all?
I just think it almost needs Should
I say the play?
It's the leap.
the leap by the lake. I loved his description of it. I was curious coming into it. Like I didn't talk to you about this pre-show, but anytime you ask an athlete about such a flashpoint kind of a memory, kind of a play, a one-off, once in a lifetime kind of play, I feel like you get a variety of one of two answers, right? Like either the answer of like, I was so locked in that I blacked out. You know, I feel like you get a lot of those where it's like, what do you remember about that? I kind of remember before, kind of remember after, but in the moment, I was just kind of in it. Like, I was in the flow. And then you have guys like Ortiz Jenkins who were like, no, I snapped the ball, took 3 steps. Like, I was like, I'm either going up or I'm going up. And so I went up.
Yeah.
And like, I love hearing those kind of answers because it really takes you into the moment with them. You were watching it pre-show in preparation for this. I was watching it pre-show in preparation for this as well. And yeah. He walked us through it exactly the way it happened, and it was a really cool experience to hear him describe it in that way.
Yeah, I love the can't go down, so figured all I got is going up.
I saw a goalpost, and then black sky, and then goalpost again, and I was like, oh, it's over.
I was, maybe I should ask the follow up, but I wonder if like he really realized he scored once he like looked down and he saw he was in like a purple end zone.
Yeah, did he mean like, oh, I looked up and it was over, and he thought like, I lost, I failed, or did he look up and think it's over, it's over?
Yeah,
two very different.
Like I could just like
vibes.
I'm just envisioning like you open your eyes and it's like your head's ringing because you just got like kind of lit up a little bit, right? I mean, he flew in the air.
Yeah,
and then you just like open your eyes and you're just on purple turf, and you're like, I did it, we won.
We won.
But also, as I said, I feel like that means so much more now after the whole Jed Fish wrinkle of things. Just like, doesn't Washington suck? Don't we just hate Washington?
Yeah.
That play encapsulates everything that's good with society, everything that's good in life.
No, totally.
Good versus evil.
Also, we didn't have all the time in the world with Mr. Jenkins, but maybe we should have asked him pre-show about that plane ride, because he made it sound like the plane ride was damn epic, and he made it sound like when he got back, he was king of the town, which I'm sure that he was. But yeah, probably some fun stories, and maybe not best for air.
Probably the best time to be at the University of Arizona from a sports standpoint.
Right? Yeah, like just coming off the '97 national championship.
I can see why DRF is like loves this athletic department, because she's going to law school and the football team is unbelievable and the basketball team is winning national championships. Like in 97, 98, U of A won in 97, right? And then 98, we have probably the greatest football team that we've ever had on campus. I mean, the 90s were special, man. The 90s were well and truly special. And then meanwhile, when I go to school, I get stuck with Kevin Sumlin and the FBI Sean Miller years. I mean, it couldn't have been worse. It genuinely couldn't have been worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of caught the tail end of Sumlin there. Like the real tail end, but yeah, I mean, I thought I had a Fish.
You got
Lloyd.
Tommy though.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought I had a Fish Lloyd like presidency ballot coming up for the next X amount of years of my life, and then Jed Fish walked out of my life. He just did that. He went to the store and never came back, kind of thing. But now Uncle Brent has stepped up. He's like not the stepfather, but the father that stepped up. You know what I mean? And so hopefully Brent Brennan can bring some stability to my football life. But you're right. No, we are very lucky to have Tommy Lloyd. Shout out to Southwest Bias, who did the Espos big board today of reasons. I believe the phrasing was reasons to be optimistic as an Arizona sports fan, like in the state of Arizona as a whole. You'd think that Tommy Lloyd would be a reason to be optimistic, but didn't make the list.
The best coach in the state.
Didn't make the list. It's okay though. We do love GM Spo, so it's all good. I just felt like bringing that up to the table in the flow of how thankful we are for Tommy Lloyd and how awesome he makes sports on campus, and how he's pretty much, maybe you feel differently, but like in terms of the vibes, I feel like Tommy Lloyd's kind of just carrying the campus. Becky Burke has injected a little bit of life to the vibes of
Seth Dagey. How dare you?
True, but he also hasn't coached any games yet. So I think that's a big boost. If game 1 against Hawaii, you know what I mean? Seth Dagey's offense come out firing, boom, shoots up in the power rankings for me. But for right now, I think he's second in the injection of life, carrying the vibes on the campus. Tommy Lloyd, Seth Dagey, Becky Burke.
I wonder Tommy is just such a kind of an under the radar guy that's what's happening there, because it's like you almost don't even think about, like, when you're like the state of Arizona sports, it doesn't even pop in your head like, hey, what's Tommy Lloyd up to? Because he's the one constant of what's actually going good.
Yeah.
You never really have to worry about what's going on with Arizona basketball because you know that they're ranked most likely. They're bringing in NBA players. They're, expected to have good seasons going in later into the year, but it feels like the rest of the sports here are almost more of a surprise, and because of that, it leads you to want to talk about them more often. That being said, nothing bothers me more than when ASU football fans try to act like their football program is on our level of basketball. Like, guys, it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year.
Show me 40 years of nationally, like relevant semi-dominance of your conference
with a ring to prove it.
And then all of a sudden, we can start talking about, hey, well, are they on the same level? I mean, they're not even genuinely close. Not even close.
No. Not even
close.
Congrats
on your one playoff season. If the playoff was 1 year before that, we should have been in the playoff.
1,000%. And I think, that honestly, you and I weren't really doing the show at the beginning of the football season. But I feel like that's something you and I would have spoken about in that way. Of like,
I'm glad that there was none of that, because
I'm saying,
I would have been sitting here in like week
hindsight,
6, like, oh, I don't know yet. We'll see. They're gonna lose, and then they would have just kept winning games over and over again.
I meant like the Arizona side of things. Like in week like 6 of last season, things are just bad. You know what I mean? Things are not good. They're ugly.
Yeah.
And you and I would have been like, if the CFP had made this change 8 calendar months ago,
for sure.
I don't even care about this season. We just had to see. That would have been great.
It would have been my first thought.
You know what I mean? So I feel like, that sticks in my head like probably once every couple months. I think about that. Like, what could have been if the timing of the change had just shifted ever so slightly. But yeah, overall, Damon, it's going to be better this year. It gets better.
I sure hope so. But yeah, here's
Sales Bossy.
Sales Bossy. ASU fans are the worst. If Jed would have played Fifita earlier, it would have been a natty. Sales Bossy, I'm just right there with you, brother. I do think that, if Jed plays Fifita earlier, we definitely don't lose that Mississippi State game. We've gone over this a million times, but you definitely don't lose that Mississippi State game. And then who knows? Does a more settled Fifita look better against USC in his first game that goes to triple OT anyways? You never know. But Sales Bossy, we do have a lot of good Washington talk earlier in this podcast that you would absolutely love, my brother. So make sure you rewind that one. But
real quick, I mean, while Sales Bossy is in here dropping off the hot takes, should we go to the hot takes today?
Yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and hit our hot takes for today.
So, I did ask earlier on Twitter if anyone had hot takes for me, and honestly, some of the hot takes, we need to turn up the grill a little bit on the hot take. But these ones were fun. I'll start with this one that I thought was pretty fun, Damon. And I haven't showed these to you unless you did go through the Slack earlier and see them.
I'll read them along with you.
So Bear Down Beat MM, aka at Go for the W, says, will we see an outdoor basketball men's and women's non-con doubleheader sold out at Arizona Stadium in perfect 70-degree November game at some point in our lifetime? Starting out strong, to be honest, I'm inclined to say hard no on this, but the idea is so sick.
The idea is cool. Here's where the no comes in. Sold out? I don't know if we can get 50,000 people
for a non-con doubleheader, but it would be
around.
It's a great gimmick though. Like, come out, see him outside. It's a great gimmick. I don't know. Maybe like 75% sold out. You're going to have to tarp off an area, right? An area of the stadium you're going to have to tarp off, at least for visual, like seating reasons. Like, you're not going to have them in one end zone and then have the people. You're not going to sell tickets at the other end zone, is my point. The court is just simply not big enough. So maybe you could actually sell it out with reduced seating. Thoughts on that?
I guess.
Okay.
How much do you have to reduce the seating?
Probably a substantial amount.
Yeah,
probably
to about McHale Center size, approximately.
Sales Bossy back in the chat says, Tucson's a major city. 50K shouldn't be tough at all. And I know that Sales Bossy means that.
Mm-hmm.
I know Sales Bossy thinks that Tucson's probably the premier city in the country. That's what you and I think, Damon.
Of course.
Our next hot take comes to us from Mateo, #1 PJC fan. If Jed Fish stayed at Arizona, or if Jedd Fisch stayed, Arizona would have won the Big 12 and maybe won a playoff game, similar to what our guy Sales Bossy was saying in the chat. Damon, what do you think about this hot take?
100% they win a playoff game. You want to know why? Because our players, they don't need it to come down to a targeting call. They don't need a 4th and 25 or whatever the hell it was, 4th down conversion. We would have just Genesis Smith patrolling back in center field. That's not a completion in the end zone to Matthew Golden for a touchdown there. Fact. We would have we might have won the national championship.
Also, Damon, I will say this, like on a more genuine note of this, on this what if hot take, whatever, there wouldn't have been like this adjustment period. Like Jedd Fisch going to Washington, there's an adjustment period. You're setting your whole life up again in a new place. He would have been able to continue the Alamo Bowl success, I believe, into I guess what now would be last season, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, you have so much more.
Cheek, no, totally, yeah. I
100% agree. At the end of the day, like, you look at the way that the Big 12 is set up. Arizona had a record that would have been competitive in the Big 12 last year in a Pac-12 that was far and away better than what the Big 12 had presented last season. So, I mean, when you're factoring in, Bo Nix's Oregon team, Michael Penix's Washington team, Caleb Williams' USC team, like these are a little bit different level of team, in my opinion, than playing, Jake Retzlaff's BYU or Avery Johnson's Kansas State.
Yeah,
and it's that's not to discount our new conference. I think the Big 12 is fun, and I love the parity, and I love how close together it feels these teams are. But I really do truly feel that if Jedd Fisch sticks around and you don't lose a lot of that depth from last year's roster, maybe you bring in a couple better transfers that because Jedd Fisch is sitting there at the University of Arizona, he's got an established culture. He's got recruits that want to come play for him after the momentum of that Alamo Bowl season. I really do feel that Arizona could have been in that 7-2 range that saw a 4-way tie between Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, and ASU at the very top of that conference, because Arizona was better than Colorado was the year before. Obviously ASU had a big come out of nowhere season, but I do feel that Arizona would have been in that class of teams. It would have been in towards the top of the conference, and 2 losses being a tiebreaker. I don't know if you get in the Big 12 title game with that, but because like I said, there's 4 teams tied with that record, but I do really feel that was an attainable record if Jedd Fisch and co stick around. Who knows? You never be able to prove it, but it'll always be a big what if you will, Kevin, in Arizona athletics history, because that's a lot of Arizona football seasons that have expectations, but last season will always be tough to take because the Big 12 felt so wide open, and it's just the way that in which you collapsed was so just like you just let the opportunity slip right out of your hands.
Yeah, and I think you're watching those games feeling like, last year's team would have made so much noise in this new conference. And also, Damon, I don't know. We have one more hot take, and I also wanted to bring up Edgar's here in the chat. I think this is a hot take. It feels like a hot take. If Brennan craps the bed, throw a crazy bag at Saban. I mean, do we have a crazy bag?
Yeah, dude.
I don't even.
We're swimming in it.
It might look crazy. I don't know if it has any contents in it. You know what I mean? It might be a crazy looking bag.
Because Nick Saban's agent looks at it and goes,
the printer broke. They forgot 3 zeros.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They ran out of ink. That's kind of crazy. And then Edgar also says, should they offer Noah a job on the staff?
Absolutely.
In case the NFL
Noah has a job here for life in Tucson if his future endeavors don't work out for him. I'm sure that being the type of person that Noah is, that he's going to go on to do some pretty cool things himself. And if he does want to be a part of Arizona football, the key is always under the mat, brother. But I feel like Noah has like the makings of like a big time like coach in Southern California, like kind of similar to what Ortiz Jenkins is doing, like helping kids, find that next step in their career. I just think that he's kind of built for that life. His dad already does similar stuff. Like, he's
got his youth camp up and ready already. Like he's starting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, he does feel that way. Like Noah Fifita feels like a football lifer. You know what I mean? Like a guy that even if he's not like, he doesn't need like some premier title, doing some big in front of the media, in front of the cameras kind of thing. I think Noah Fifita is more than comfortable to just give back to the game that gave so much to him. And then we have our last hot take here, Damon, from our guy Luke, who wants to know says Arizona football will make a bowl game and Noah Fifita will have a similar season to his freshman year.
Love it.
I mean, you gotta love it.
If he has a similar season to his freshman year, then we're going to do a lot more than make a bowl game. I don't know if I mean, obviously, like, I'm not saying you're going to win a conference championship, but I think that, you're making a pretty good bowl game and your season record is a solid record. You're not scraping to 6-6. Like, if Noah Fifita can manage to, I mean, how many interceptions did he throw his freshman season? He was unbelievable, dude.
He was
25-6. If Noah Fifita has a 72% completion percentage, has 25 touchdowns and 6 picks next year, I mean, we're talking about an absolutely special season happening in Tucson. We're talking about Seth Gagey being needed to hand the keys.
Ooh.
Genuinely. Immediately give him the keys.
Isn't the Broyles Award the best coordinator in the country? Is that? Yeah. I mean, we're talking Seth Gagey Broyles Award type stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We are.
And then, Damon, I think that is all for our hot takes, unless you had any you wanted to unload on us today.
No, I didn't have anything in particular. We can't start the show now because Erica is here, so shout out Erica. Thank you for finally attending, Erica.
I do have
down as present.
I learned a hot take that I had earlier. I didn't know it was a hot take. And we can keep this short and sweet because we do have more to get to on today's show. But concerts kind of overrated, no? Me and Eric were arguing about this, I think, while you were on D-backs, quite fervently. I feel like concerts are overrated.
Concerts?
Yeah.
Man.
I don't,
you're going to cause a couple of dislikes from my parents here.
I like concerts, but I just feel like they've become overrated. You know what I mean? Overrated, overpriced.
Overpriced for sure. I think especially people that are generation and demographic are interested in going to see are extremely overpriced because they know that we'll just pay whatever price it takes. And people will go into debt for it, and so they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, $500 on a Drake ticket. That sounds like a great deal." And you're like, "You just took out a loan to afford that."
And the performers don't really perform the way that I feel like they used to back in the day. I wasn't around back in the day, but I feel like they used to really do a lot of additive stuff with the music. But anyway, we can move on from that. That was my own hot take for the day. Damon.
I love it.
Memphis.
Here's a hot take because I heard you were singing a song earlier. This popped in my head. I think Rick and Morty sucks.
You're just too stupid.
My roommate was watching it the other day. Came home, looked at him, said, "God,
was
this show
it
sucks."
the new stuff?
Yeah, it was.
The new stuff does suck.
I understand that, but the old stuff sucks too.
I thought the old stuff was good.
No,
I'm not. It's not like
it's not.
It's not like breaking. Like, I don't know. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. But OG, like the first 4 or 5 seasons of Rick and Morty, I feel like are really good. But I do. It's not like a Simpsons. It's not like a whatever you want to say.
Family Guy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Rick and Morty's pretty up there for me. I like Rick and Morty a lot. Rick and Morty.
Trash.
Rick and Morty.
Trash.
Edgar Ortiz is upset with you in the chat, by the way.
I know. It's unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people. I was thinking about lighting this kerosene-filled bomb on fire on Twitter one of these days, Kevin. Similar to your cereal situation. Yeah, I really felt that a lot of people were going to come after me for it. We will let it off one of these days. And Edgar, I expect you to be somewhere in the mob attacking me because I understand it's an unpopular opinion. I've never liked it. All my friends have always liked it, and every time it's been on, it sucks, man. Sucks. I don't like it. I don't find it entertaining.
You should tweet your Rick and Morty thing, and I'll tweet my concerts thing, and we'll see who gets more death threats. How about that?
A little friendly competition.
Yeah. We can do a VME or whatever. But yeah, no.
I mean, then I feel like my framing is going to be out of whack now since that's the goal, because then I'm going to be like, and if you like Rick and Morty, you're just an absolute idiot that stands for nothing in life. Make it really personal.
That is what got people upset with me at their core about the cereal thing, is because I think I called them children.
100%.
But also, like, but come on, man.
That's kind of what I want to do about Rick and Morty. Like, you have brain rot brain.
Brain rot brain. You have rotted brain, actually, yeah.
And you find that funny?
I mean, yeah. USOB. I'm in. Anyway, that's your verbal meme for the day. Very, very late into the show. Eric Brotherton with a hot take at the buzzer. The Weeknd, the artist, is overrated, which is true.
Wow.
He's really good. His old stuff is really good.
Yeah,
his new stuff is kind of like
if you said that to me in like
garbage.
2016, 2017, I'd be up in arms. How
Yeah.
dare you, sir?
Yeah.
These days I could see it a little bit more for sure.
He does radio stuff now. A lot of artists, they graduate into this stage where they're like, I'm just going to do radio stuff. It's going to be unoffensive. It's going to be harmless music. And they're going to hear it in your brand redacted supermarket while you're buying brand redacted face wash. You know what I mean?
We need a good Erica hot take here in the comments, I think. So, Erica, feel free to drop yours. Erica might be driving as well. So
I think Erica's here.
Oh, is she?
In the room with us, literally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, before we get out of here, we did want to talk about Memphis potentially joining the Big 12.
Speaking of Erica.
Speaking of Erica, we got Memphis chat here. Damon, I know you got some takes on this, and we don't have much time before the end of the show, so I'm going to let you drive this boat, so to speak.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Mostly just the news popped out that Memphis was, essentially bidding to be a part of the Big 12 here. It was reported this morning by On3 that Memphis offered over $200 million to the Big 12 to enter their conference. In addition to, the buyout that they would have to pay their own conference, which is the American Conference, to leave it. So, yeah, it's going to be it seems like the Big 12 is still on the cusp of maybe potentially adding a few more schools here and there. They're interested in it. They deny Memphis here. I think Memphis fit just in the way that they're more of a basketball school, and the Big 12 is such a basketball-oriented conference, but ultimately, I don't think Memphis had the overarching kind of influence on their own location and their own area of the world where it makes sense for the Big 12 to want to bring them in. Like, are people in Memphis locked in on the Memphis Tigers, or is it just kind of another one of those schools? It's like, yeah, they're good at basketball, and yeah, they can get people to go to their games if Derrick Rose is there and they're not competing for a national championship. But really, how much do people truly care about Memphis athletics, Memphis football in particular? Because I know you have to be competitive in football. It makes it for an interesting conversation, Kevin. And I guess, what were your kind of thoughts? Did you think that the Big 12 made the right decision in terms of denying Memphis?
To be honest with you, I don't get paid enough to tell you if that was the right or wrong decision for the Big 12 and Brett Yormark, but I will say this much. Like, there is something that really stood out to me about the proposal in general. They kind of had me raise my eyebrows, do a little bit of The Rock, a little bit, if you will. The idea that they were so willing to just like pretty much have a bet on themselves kind of proposal. It was like, hey, we're gonna offer you a bunch of sponsorship money. We're not gonna ask for anything. In fact, if this doesn't work out, if you don't like us, you can just send us back to from whence we came. And it feels like it was such a weird, like over offer in a way of Memphis, of just like, hey, here's everything. We're going all in on this offer. You can either say yes or you can send us away. We don't really care. And it was kind of a weird. I don't know if you got those same vibes, but I thought that was a weird way to approach it, as opposed to being like, here's what we offer to your conference. It was kind of like begging to be in the conference in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're trying to make like a big move here, which is, and they know that they're not really offering anything in particular that, would lead the Big 12 to want to chase after them, similar to how they did the corner schools here in the Pac-12, which led to the Arizona schools, Colorado, Utah making it their way over to the Big 12. But I guess from a sense, that's just realistic from Memphis' standpoint. And so I understand why they would want that move. I think that like Houston and Memphis and stuff, where they had a good back and forth when they were in the American Conference together, but ultimately it's just not a big enough program, I think, to justify that decision. A couple other schools that have been rumored, one of them was UConn. And how they fit from a basketball standpoint makes complete sense, but they're just such a putrid football program that it makes it difficult to maybe want to bring them into the fold. But I know that's been rumored. Gonzaga, similarly, I think that was kind of the two schools that they talked about joining together, as having Gonzaga and UConn join, but both only be really like basketball. And that would be just make it even an insane more gauntlet of college basketball with all of those teams in it. But Kevin, we're going to round out this discussion in overtime here on the AZ Wildcats podcast as we talk about the Memphis bid to the Big 12 that went awry and was ultimately denied here. I get it. I think that Memphis, makes sense from just like stylistically, but I just don't think that they had the cachet to ultimately make this move make any sense. Kevin, we did put together, a couple other teams that we were saying like could make sense for the Big 12 in the future, and we don't have to spend too much time on the topic, but you had an interesting one for me in particular that you wanted to bring up.
I said, look, man, most of the teams in the Big 12 have an in-state rival built in. There are only 5 teams without it. And if you're trying to solve that, for Iowa State, that's not really an option, right? Virginia, for West Virginia, that's not really an option. You know what I mean? Is there even another big Cincinnati? Anyway, Cincinnati, they don't got one.
Kind of West Virginia.
Sure, yeah. But
they're in the same neck of the woods.
Literally, very woody over there. But I feel like if you're actually trying to get another in-state rivalry built in, USF is right there in South Florida to compete with Central Florida. The battle for the peninsula that will eventually be underwater in 5 years. That is what I want to see in the Big 12 Conference. You know what I mean? The battle for the floodland, if you will. So
love it.
I'm with it. I think you bring USF in here and tell them to bring their dogs and see what UCF has.
I'm all with it. I mean, I think, USF, it's Tampa. It's another big metropolitan area, and you add that to Orlando, and it makes a little bit of sense. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit. I don't think USF really has any shot of joining in, but it's a fun thought there, Kevin. Mine of course,
get Florida.
My most realistic one and team that I would actually enjoy seeing in the conference would be Tulane.
Yeah,
and I think Tulane makes a lot of sense just from the standpoint of you're trying to establish a foothold in the South a little bit more. I guess kind of the best of the non-SEC schools. Tulane is in New Orleans. It's in a big city. There's a big appetite for football in Louisiana. And I think Tulane is a program that can continue to grow and get a lot better. Tulane used to be a really big-time football program back in the day. I see no reason why they couldn't be pretty solidly competitive in a power conference these days. And also they fit well with Houston as well. I think that's a good little built-in rivalry there. So I think Tulane would be a fun option. I'd love to have Tulane in the conference. We also mentioned Texas State, which is, they just joined the Big 12, the Pac-12. But Texas State is, if they can get up to a big enough level in the Pac-12, the Big 12 is still above the Pac-12, no doubt about it. I mean, I think that would be a fun little add to, the Texas peripheral conference where A&M and Texas aren't in it, but all the other Texas schools that are worth anything are, and I think Texas State could fit into that kind of easily. So a couple of schools to have on the horizon if the Big 12 is interested in adding anybody. I'd most likely want to see Tulane, but yeah, we'll have to keep that one in the back pocket there, Kevin.
I love the Tulane pick. I also, love the idea here in the chat. I like that we're thinking big, with schools like Florida State and Florida. I love that as well. But I think that your Tulane pick is very natural. And when you mentioned it to me pre-show, I was like, damn, I wish I thought of that. I would have sounded really smart on today's show. But no, I think you sound smart with that one. And also the Texas State thing, I think this is interesting to talk about because when you talk about a school that in the rev share and NIL era could really elevate itself, Texas State is a school that defines that precisely, right? If you were able to get Texas recruits and maybe it's a little bit of success, you can continue to level up. And I like the idea of them potentially joining the Big 12 and being more of that Texas presence. And who knows? Maybe they can win a major thing before A&M does again. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's I'm with the Texas State thing. I think it'd be very cool. Shout out to Jordan McLeod as well, former Arizona guy.
Legend.
Went to Texas State. So, yeah.
That's going to do it for us today. Fun little show for you today. We talked to Ortiz Jenkins, Arizona legend. Tell us about Arizona commit Keytrin Harris, 4-star recruit, high 3-star recruit, depending on what you look at, as well as his famous Leap by the Lake play, a little bit of Big 12 expansion, and some of your hot takes. That's going to do it for us today on the AZ Wildcats podcast. On a Monday, we're going to come back on a Tuesday here. And you guys can join us at 2 p.m. As always, we're going to have a great time talking all the news and notes around Arizona athletics. Anything before we get out of here, Kevin?
No, to be honest with you, I'm very excited to take a nap later today, potentially.
Kevin's going through it today.
I'm just tired. It's been a good day. I'm just tired today. But this show did revive me. Damon got me a coffee this morning because he's just that kind of guy. That's my quarterback. And yeah, that's it. I'm excited for Tuesday. Let's wrap it up and get one day closer to another show.
Let's do it. Everybody drop a like on this video if you guys haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DWG. And you can follow my guy Kevin at Kevo Posts. That's KEVOPOSTS. Thank you so much for watching the show, guys. Follow us at PHNX_Wildcats as well on Twitter. And we'll be back on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. But until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. See y'all on a Tuesday. Thank you, Ortiz.
We all silly like the mayor.